Hello and welcome to Matt's Casual Cooking. Today for Bread Month, we are going to be making egg bread. A very fun and simple bread that you can make for any time. It's really good and very nice and soft. So we're going to go over all the ingredients and how to put it together, and let's get to it.
All right, folks, so we're going to go over the ingredients that you're going to need today. Now, for starters, in the mixing bowl, you're going to need 2 cups of flour, and you're also going to need 1 package, either active dry yeast or instant yeast. Now, in the saucepan, you're going to need 1 1/3 cups of milk, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 3 tablespoons of butter or margarine, and just a half teaspoon of salt. Now what you want to set aside is 2 eggs, and also set aside another bowl about 2 3/4 to 3 1/4 cups of flour, because we're going to have to beat that in initially after the liquid portion. So we're going to go over everything else here in a second, and I will see you then. Alright, folks, so just like with the white bread, you're going to cook your liquid till you're about 120 and 130 degrees. You don't want to go above that because we're not looking to kill the yeast in the mixing bowl. So then once you're there, go ahead and pour it in along with your eggs at the same time. And we're going to kind of shorten this. I'm not going to show you. But once you add your liquid and the eggs, you're going to beat it together for about 30 seconds. Make sure you're kind of scraping the sides at the same time. So once that's done, we'll move on to the next step after we mix it together. So we'll see you then. Alright, folks, so it's been about 30 seconds, and we've just beat it on low. And what you want to do too is, I know I said scrape the sides, but you might also need to kind of like scrape the bottom, kind of get some of that flour that doesn't necessarily always come up, even if you need to turn this off for a second and kind of scrape it off. But what we're going to do now is, before we add the flour, is we're going to beat this now on medium for 3 minutes, and then we'll get to the next part. So I will see you then. Alright, folks, so we're done, and you're going to know it's done when it's still it's going to still be kind of liquidy. You're going to definitely want to make sure those eggs are beat into it. So all we're going to do now is you're just going to take that flour from a bowl. You're just going to start adding the rest of it in. And you're just going to beat it together until it's well combined in on this too. Again, you are going to want to make sure you get the sides so it all combines together. And you're just going to want to put it all in. So then once that's done, scrape off that flour flying everywhere. Once you're done, go ahead and take your dough and put it out onto a lightly floured surface, and then we will go from there. So I will see you then. Alright, folks, so you can see the dough is done and come together quite nicely. So all you're going to do is we're just going to knead it, and it should be about 6 to 8 minutes for this. And what you're looking for is kind of like a stiff and also elastic dough on this. So it shouldn't really take you too long. So go ahead and just kind of fold it over. If you've never done this before, just kind of fold it over. I like to press in with my heel of my hand. Sometimes just punch it down too with my knuckles. Just really kind of anything you need to do to get it together. Now, if you think you need a little more flour, just kind of pull some of this, kind of spread it on top so your hands also don't stick to it. But while you're doing this, it's going to become less and less sticky overall as well. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you in about 6 to 8 minutes. Alright, folks, so we are done kneading And you can see, I know I forgot to mention, but once you're done kneading, once you feel like it's done, you're going to kind of form it into a ball. And then what you want to do is you want to get out like a glass or a metal bowl or just something that's going to hold it. And you're going to want to take, I like to take cooking oil for this, and you're going to want to pour some in, and probably pour a little too much in. Shoot. Okay. But what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of grease the bowl. Don't necessarily want it pooling on the bottom, but I had a little too much, so I got to scrape it around a little bit more. All you're going to do is just add your dough, and we want to flip it over. We want to grease both sides, and all I'm going to do, again, is just flip it over once more. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let this rest, and you want to put it in a warm place because we still want that yeast to really start eating the flour and the sugars that we put into this. And we're going to let it in a warm place for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. About an hour. If you're at 45 minutes and it does it, then that's fine as well. But I will go ahead and also, I keep forgetting, cover with like a terry cloth. This will help keep some of the warmth in to help it rise as well. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you in about an hour. Alright folks, so our dough is done, and this has doubled in size for what it was. What we want to do is just kind of want to punch it down, and you want to put it back on. You can see we've got some nice lightly floured surface again. But all we're going to do, we're not going to knead it or anything. I'm going to just really cut it in half. I'm just going to put a nice kind of thin layer of flour on it. You don't need to get too crazy at this point. So what you want to do is just cut it in half. Now if you don't have a bread cutter like this, just get out a really good knife and just cut it in half. So what we're going to do, make sure, is press it down a little bit, and we're going to make it into rolls. You got a couple ways you can do that, kind of make it a rectangle. You can kind of roll it, kind of press it out, so press it out a little bit further, a little bit down, kind of fold that in a little bit. Got that way, and now for this one, a little flour, whatever's left, is we're actually just going to fold it over. And what you want to do is just kind of pinch it together. And while I pinch, I kind of like to roll the pinch back in to kind of help it hold it together. And just flip it over. I'm going to kind of push it a little bit because we are going to be getting out some bread pans for this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cover this back up, and we're going to let this dough rest for 10 minutes. And then while we're doing that, go ahead and get out 2 bread pans, and we'll go from there. So I will see you. Alright folks, so you can see we've got our dough in the bread pan. Now, just like with the white bread, we have one more time where we need to let it sit in a warm place for about half an hour. And again, the goal of this, we want the bread to kind of double in size and really fill out the bread pan. And I'm going to be using a glass one today for one of them, because I've actually never made bread before this weekend, a glass one. So I'm pretty interested in doing it. If not, I've got my favorite metal one here. Now once it's been 30 minutes and the dough has risen, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the oven at 375 for 25 to 30 minutes, or until the bread sounds like hollow when you tap it. So then once that's done, go ahead and take it out, and we're going to put it on a wire rack to cool. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you then. All right, folks, so we are done, and they've been cooling for a little bit, so they're in good shape. And you can see they're definitely kind of different sizes because the metal one was more narrow, the glass one was a little bit wider. So really kind of how you want it cooked and whatever kind of bread pans you want to get or have, obviously is going to make it a certain way. If you enjoyed making this recipe today, like, subscribe, share. Please leave a comment below. I want to know what you think of the bread. So I want to thank you again for watching, and come back with me next week on another journey for one more bread recipe for Bread Month. So I will see you then. Take care.